Welcome back. You are in the yard where faith and sports collide with Marcus Preciado, and I'm here with a great guy, a man that loves the Lord, a former NFL receiver, had some time with the Dolphins and the Dallas Cowboys. More importantly, San Diego State's all-time leading receiver. Give it up for J.R. Tolver. J.R., thanks for coming in today, man. I appreciate it.
Thanks for having me, man.
Thanks for joining us, man. I'm really excited. Obviously, I went to San Diego State, and I've shared this with you personally. You know, I was there way before you, but to follow you throughout your career has been a blessing for me. What you guys did to put San Diego State back on the map. Walk me through kind of being a high school kid, getting to San Diego State, and all the success you had there.
Yeah, I don't know what your experience was as far as getting to the university, but for me, it kind of started when I was a freshman in high school. As a 12-year-old, I remember seeing Marshall Faulk, but I lived in Louisiana. My mom was from San Diego, kind of run wild against Pacific as a true freshman, right? And then when I got to high school, that's when I kind of started more paying attention to college. And then Will Blackwell, Azakim, Billy Blanton, Leandrew Child, some of those guys were there, and they were just putting up numbers. And I played quarterback in high school, but I had a coach that was on my staff, coach named Sean, and he was like always into San Diego State. I mean, he would be listening to talk radio on the field, talking about San Diego State, and that's when my eyes kind of opened up. So as I progressed through my high school career, you know, I didn't have a lot of offers. I was an option quarterback, if you will, and the Army and the Air Force Academy and some of those schools recruited me, but I really didn't have any D1 offers. And then Coach Lay came to me late in my senior year and said, hey, listen, I know you play quarterback, but we see you as a receiver. We want to offer you a scholarship. And it just kind of came together. You know, I was excited to stay home, excited to be able to play in front of my friends and family, excited to have the opportunity to try this new challenge, moving from one position to another, and it just kind of blossomed from there.
Okay, great. So you were a quarterback in high school. Coach Lay was recruiting you?
Yeah.
Give me your best Coach Lay voice.
Oh, no, that's Coach Tolver. See, Coach Lay was, get her done now, get her done.
Loved Coach Lay, man. Okay, so then you decided to go to San Diego State. Did you expect to have the success that you had throughout your career?
You know what's funny, man, is that as I was at San Diego State, I redshirted as a freshman. And then my redshirt freshman year, I had a high ankle sprain. So I missed 5 or 6 games my redshirt freshman year. And then the last 2 games of the season, I ended up starting because one of our receivers got hurt. Damon Gordine got hurt. And I started, and I caught 2 touchdowns in both of those games. And Shane Walton, who is also a brother in Christ, we grew up in church together. He went to Notre Dame.
Yeah, he went to Notre Dame to play soccer.
Yes. And walked on to the football team and became an All-American.
Yeah.
And Shane and I were working out together at San Diego State. I think it was in the summer. And I remember telling Shane, and I kind of don't even remember where this came from or how it. We used to talk a lot of trash back and forth to each other when we worked out. But I remember this moment like it was yesterday. I remember telling Shane, I want to leave here as the all-time leading receiver.
Wow.
Going into my redshirt sophomore year.
Wow. And at that point, you had a couple starts. Yeah. You redshirted, caught some touchdowns, but certainly were not on a trajectory to be the all-time leading receiver at San Jose.
Exactly. And Shane, I remember he looked at me. Shane to this day is one of the top 5 most competitive people I've ever played against, been friends with, anything. Yeah. And I remember he turned around and he looked at me and he said, don't say that if you don't mean it.
Ooh.
And from that point on, everything that I did was in line with me trying to break Will Blackwell's 197 catch record, and some things lined up, and it worked out.
Wow. So from that point, you might have said it, maybe just throwing it out there, but I think maybe when Sean got back to you, it kind of made you think, oh, let me really pursue this and anchor it down. Is that what happened?
Yeah, it really did. And Shane and I, we were just, we were swords for one another, right? We held each other accountable. I'd call him after his games. He'd call me after my games. But it was when he turned to me, and I don't even know if he remembers this, but when he turned to me and said, don't say it if you don't mean it, it changed me, right?
Yeah.
It changed me internally. And then it also like made me think a little bit more about, well, what am I really doing to make something like that happen? Because something like that doesn't just happen overnight,
Yeah,
right?
you have to have a plan.
You have to have a plan.
Yeah.
Am I eating right? Am I approaching school the right way? Am I working out enough? Am I lifting enough? And for whatever reason, that was the moment where I really can look back and pinpoint and say that moment, that conversation, that workout with Shane really manifested into what my career ended up becoming.
Well, it's amazing the power of words, Jared, as you say that, man. And who knows that if you would have never, first of all, said that, and he never challenged you, who knows if that ever would have been your mindset, or if that would have been your goal, if that would have ever happened, man. The power of words, that is amazing. So take us into the following years. Now you have a different mindset.
Yeah.
You're a little bit bigger, faster, and stronger now, for sure.
Yeah.
And talk to us about now the all the joy and all the amazing opportunities that happened as you were pursuing that goal.
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't without struggle. I mean, going into my sophomore year, my redshirt sophomore year, I ended up the season with 60-plus catches, but I had a lot of drops. I didn't have any touchdowns. I think I had one touchdown that season.
Wow.
There was some guys who were behind me that were fighting for my position, and there were, murmurings that maybe I shouldn't be starting, maybe these other guys should be starting. Going into my senior year, very similar, 60-plus catches, but only a couple of touchdowns. And at that point, I was just kind of like in this position where, am I really going to be able to do this? Am I everything that I think I can be? We weren't winning a lot of football games when I was there. And then my junior year, Coach Tolver got fired. So now we're coachless, right?
Yeah.
And I honestly thought about it. I remember walking into Coach Tolver's office and with tears in my eyes because my coach just got fired, saying, man, like, I don't know if I want to be here anymore. You're leaving. Everything's going to change. New coach is going to come in. I got my degree already. Maybe I just put my name in the NFL draft. And if I get drafted, great. If I don't and don't make a team, I already got my degree. It'll be fine. And Coach Tolver said, you're not ready to come out. Stay. And so I stayed. And Coach Kraft came in and Adam Hall transferred in and Kasim Osgood transferred in. And
from Cal Poly.
We just started throwing the ball all over the place, and it ended up being a great decision to stay for my senior year.
Yes, that was a lot of fun watching you guys. We had Kasim on a couple of weeks ago, and man, you guys threw that ball around, caught it, and made a lot of fans and had a lot of fun. We know that then catapulted you to an opportunity to play a little bit in NFL, play also professionally, I believe in Canada as well.
Yeah.
So chat with us a little bit about that experience.
Yeah. So I mean, as a youngster, I mean, the goal was always to play in the NFL, and having a big senior season put me in a position to get drafted in the 5th round by the Miami Dolphins, and was very excited about that opportunity. Went down there in preseason and, led all rookies in catches and yards in that preseason. So was feeling really good about my rookie year going into my first year in the NFL and ended up getting injured, having a partially torn patellar tendon and getting put on injured reserve and not really being able to do all the things that I wanted to do or that I thought I was going to do as a pro. So one injury turned into an active year and a couple of practice squad years and 3 teams in 2 years, and ended up, transitioning out of professional football about 6 years from the time that I started, became a high school football coach. And that's where I really found my passion for the game. I thought my passion in the game was the playing and the competition, but really my passion in the game was the teaching and showing players how to work together and building camaraderie and culture. And then more so than anything, just showing guys how to work for a bigger purpose other than themselves. Because I think sometimes as athletes, we get very caught into what other people are saying about us or what we think about ourselves. And we sometimes mask that a little bit in the team environment. But when you're coaching, you have no choice but to make sure that is focused on bringing this team together, making sure that everybody's on the same page. And that's why I really found a passion for the game. I loved it playing. I really loved it as a coach.
Yeah, that's one of the great things about football. And I chat with my son and kids that I've coached, and everyone wants to play at the next level and dream about playing in the NFL. And that's all fine. But I tell the kids, what you remember about football is not so much the plays.
Absolutely.
Not the touchdowns. When you get with your buddies, man, you're talking about the locker room, right, Jar?
Yep.
The clowning,
Yep.
right? The person just getting run over, right? Or like crying in 2 days. Like, it's that experience that bonds you. It's that teamwork, is that camaraderie. When I think about football, I don't think about anything individually.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I think of what did I experience with my brothers, what did I experience with my team, and that's pretty unique to football. Do you agree with that?
No, 100%. I mean, the thing that I miss most about playing is the locker room.
Yeah.
The camaraderie, the conversations, being down in the dumps, one of your teammates seeing you, forcing you to get out of that mindset, get back into a productive mindset.
Yeah.
So the locker room is definitely, I think, the thing that I miss the most from playing the game. And if you talk to most guys, 99 out of 100 guys will also say the locker room and that culture and that environment is what they miss the most as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And I know that currently you're still connected with football. I know you're a real big part of your high school football, and you like to be a blessing to them through your business as well as just through your presence. And right now you're at State Farm helping a lot of people. Why don't you tell me a little bit about that and how you tie that into being helpful and teamwork?
Yeah, it's a pretty interesting dynamic. I had an opportunity to open up a State Farm agency in Mira Mesa, which is where I grew up about 3 years ago. And I came back to the neighborhood really for a couple of reasons. Number one, that was a community that gave so much to me. I would have never gotten to the place that I did without the support of, Coach Thompson, who was my high school football coach, and the rest of that Mira Mesa community. So when I brought my business back into that community, I did it because I felt like I wanted to have a mechanism to always continually, consistently give back to the community. And I do that through a couple of ways. I do that through the products and services that I offer, right? Whether it's life insurance, protecting families, or business insurance, helping people understand how to protect their business. But it's also through charity, right? And through donations. Like, I know how hard it is for programs to run on a shoestring budget with volunteers that are cycling through every year. So my goal was to be a resource to that community, no matter who or when or what was coming through the community. People know that they can come to my door and we can figure out a way that my business can support their organization so that the kids in those programs can have the same opportunities that I did as a young person growing up in that neighborhood.
That's awesome. That goes with our theme of this podcast, of this week's episode. Is really, we've seen men of God through highlighting this week just behaving like men of God.
Yeah.
Just taking biblical principles and applying them. And when we do that, we get great results. I know you're a man of faith. I know you're a man that loves Jesus.
Absolutely.
Right? So talk to us about how that's woven in everything you do as a former pro guy, as a guy that wants to help the community, as a family guy. How is Jesus the anchor of those things for you?
Anytime you have so many moving parts like I do, like most men do, right? I'm a dad, I'm a husband, I'm a business owner, I'm, trying to support you have all of these moving parts. I think what God does is he centers that focus, right? He always lets you know that I am the biggest, right? And for me, like, to be able to always look up and to get that kind of direction from my faith in God. My dad taught me that at a very early age, right? Which is, there's nothing bigger than God, and there's nothing more important than God. So when you get stuck in your little ruts and you think that, oh, I lost this game, or I didn't make as much money as I should have, or I'm injured and I should be playing, or whatever it is, just look up. Right? Look up, re-centralize, recenter yourself, realize that there's nothing bigger than God. Everything that we do for his glory, and then reverse engineer and start all over again. So for me, somebody who will always have a ton of irons in the fire at the same time, the one thing that kind of centralizes me and makes me consistent is that relationship with Jesus.
Man, that is so awesome to hear. Jar, thanks for joining us today, man. We really appreciate it. Like I said, personally, man, I've always always been a support of you. I love it. And the things we get to do together now, not only through the show, but in community, that things we're working on. I love it. I appreciate it. We look forward to having you back soon in the yard. God bless you. Love you, brother.
You too, man. If I could say one last thing, I've watched you at The Rock for the last few years as a senior pastor and have always admired what you've done. Have always admired the energy you've given to me and my family, but also the other members of the church. So to see you out here in this environment, doing what God has purposed you to do, continually spreading that word, showing that big, great personality, it's inspiring. So keep doing what you're doing, man. There's a lot of people watching and a lot of people enjoy what you're doing.
Well, I'll take that. I appreciate it. Thanks a lot, JR. I want to thank our guest today, J.R. Tolver, for being in the yard. And of course, our partner, Christian Podcast Central. So go to ChristianPodcastCentral.com for all kinds of great content. You guys, thanks for joining us, and join us next week in the yard.